All right, for this one, we're going to dive right into the sentences themselves. I've got some notes on this one. It's a little weird in certain ways, so let's take a look at the sentences first. This person's novel chronicles the divergent experiences of these characters, a young Nigerian couple after high school. Ifemelu moves to the United States to attend a prestigious university. Obinza travels to London, hoping to start a career there. However, frustrated with the lack of opportunities, he soon returns to Nigeria. So this just seems like kind of two facts, right? There's two people, these two characters, and we're kind of just describing both of them. So let's take a look. First of all, I would definitely get rid of nevertheless. That's probably the most obvious one here. Nevertheless means but. It literally just means that. It's just a fancy way of saying but. And in a way, it's kind of like, it's definitely a contrast, but it's also kind of like a dismissive contrast that lets us get rid of a choice dismiss a thing we just said is kind of what I'm trying to say here. So we're not dismissing Ifemelu, we're just talking about a new person. So there's no contrast here. Now, normally, choice A, I would eliminate for the same reason. Meanwhile, in many cases, is a but word. So if you've listened to any of my other videos, you've probably heard me talk about these transition questions, where if you have two words that mean the same thing, that's not a good sign. It usually means that they're both wrong. But meanwhile is a little tricky because it also has like a secondary meaning that's something like during, okay? It still has a contrast element, but it also involves this concept of time. And so does choice C, secondly, right? That also maybe has this element of like something, maybe like happening second. So we gotta be careful there. And then D is also even another tricky one because what does in fact mean? Well, in fact is kind of a word that adds emphasis. So sometimes that can be used for a contrast, but more often it's more just like we want to kind of show how the second sentence is really emphasizing something we said in the first. So that wouldn't be a good fit here because the first sentence and the second sentence that we're talking about are so different, right? They're about two different characters. So this is tricky. I would say, honestly, my first instinct here was that it was going to be C because of the meanwhile and the nevertheless thing. It's actually A. But I see why people are going to pick C here. What they're trying to do is talk about these divergent experiences, and notice how many words here have to do with time. After she moves to the United States, meanwhile, this other person travels to London. So there's the divergence. These two people are doing different things. So meanwhile, it's kind of getting this idea. There is a contrast, but it's in happening at the same time. Two events are happening at the same time. And then soon returns to Nigeria. So there's a lot of words that are kind of indicating that the time piece is important. Secondly, the reason this is wrong, this is going to be hard to explain. It honestly has to do with this ly. If it said just second without the ly, maybe it could work because then it still has that element of time. First this happened, second this happened. So it has that. Secondly, though, is the way that I think of this word has more to do with like if you're making an argument and it's kind of like your first point and your second point, right? Like, I should get a new car. Firstly, I've been working really hard and I deserve to treat myself to something nice. Secondly, the price of cars is down, and so this is a good time to buy, right? Like that's me making an argument, and that's kind of what the word secondly does here. So it's just not quite a good fit. I have a feeling a lot of people are going to get this question wrong because that is a subtlety of language that is very hard, even for native English speakers, to kind of really think about. So they're going to do kind of what I did at first and just treat this as two separate points. First here, second here. Let's just pick it. If you did get this wrong, I wouldn't worry about it. This is not a high priority question. This is one of those ones where I'm going to say, yeah, hard one. You did your best. There's some twists here because of the strategy that I normally say to eliminate words that mean the same thing. So there's a lot of things that kind of lead us towards choice C, maybe being a better bet, but it ends up being wrong. And this is just how it goes sometimes with hard questions. You place a good bet, but sometimes the bet is bad just because of bad luck. And I think if you got this wrong, just blame bad luck. It's not going to always be this tricky. So don't doubt the strategies that got you there. They will work in most cases.